Alright, people, we're back. Episode 48. Born to be great. Me, Rory Spooner, James Veck, back again. Look at this lighting issue. We think we've got it sorted, so apologies for last week. Yeah, it's almost perfect. The lighting issue we had was fucking horrendous. Like, it made part of the podcast, I say almost all of it, unwatchable. So our apologies for that. We have tremendous content.
Absolutely.
Terrible lighting, which really
at least the audio is good.
The audio is always sick. So even if you're not happy with this lighting, please feel free to go back to iTunes, SoundCloud, whatever floats your boat. But this should be a-okay for this week. And as time goes on, it'll evolve and it'll be even better again. But let's not digress. Football. That's why we're here. We'll kick off with Spurs. Now, Spurs, I feel, kind of peaked a little bit last season. And the signings that they've made, Ndombele, Lo Celso, Sessegnon to a degree, were designed to give them some sort of impetus and help them kick on. They're going to need a little bit of time to bed in, so it's probably unrealistic to put too much pressure on them. But they do seem a little unsettled. Do you agree with that?
They do, yes. They haven't impressed at all so far this season. And I know it is obviously early days and not many teams are. But I did expect or have expected to see a little bit more from them so far, and we've mentioned in the past how they needed to strengthen, and obviously with Ndombele, Lo Celso and Sessegnon, you'd look at those three signings and kind of think, okay, they're three decent signings,
very good players,
and that should definitely help the situation. But from what I've seen, the opening 3 games they've had, they seem to have a bit of a different side every week so far. I understand that Son has obviously come back from a ban.
Yeah, he'll be key this season as well again when he gets
and that's
going.
why he's been out. Was it maybe the correct decision to put him straight back in? I'm not so sure. But the first game against Aston Villa, obviously they were second best first half. Yes, they improved second half. Against City, yes, that's a tough game, but they did very well to get a draw out of that, because aside from the 2 goals they scored, they didn't really do a great deal. Yeah, and they came completely undone against a well-drilled Newcastle side, and that's words I don't use to describe Newcastle very often.
This is exactly why I don't bet, and I say this all the time: take your money, invest it in property, right? Because you have more chance, right, with a hard Brexit and a nice house than you do Newcastle ever winning fucking anything, right? So that was the last result I was expecting for them on the weekend. Reece Henley, our resident Newcastle fan, texted us, and the words he used were, "I'm in dreamland," which
with Barcode FC.
With Barcode FC, which he couldn't believe it either. Spurs fans everywhere were just like, how is this happening? Just couldn't understand how it had come to that. But I think Spurs will be okay. The Eriksen dilemma is an interesting one, because I think part of the reason Spurs are unsettled is because the window is still open for the European clubs. I don't think many Spurs players will get picked off other than Eriksen.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. No. But the whole Eriksen thing, he adds a lot of creativity to that side. He adds goals, assists, experience, character, quality. There's a lot that he gives, bro, and I think they'll miss him.
Kane aside, I think he is their best player.
Do you think?
Christian Eriksen, yeah. By quite a distance.
Big statement, that is.
Do you think there's anyone better?
Son.
No, I think on their day I would still.
Do you reckon Eriksen? Yeah.
Obviously, you've still got Dele Alli as well.
Ali is a bit of.
That's not me saying, by the way, that I think he's in the discussion with their best player. But the word you used, which was unsettled, because obviously you've got Kane, Eriksen, Son, Moura, Lamela, and Ali. And they've all got to try and squeeze them into, because they tend to play as like a 4-2-3-1 Spurs, and try and get those 5 into a 3. And it's not easy at the moment, and Lamela was very poor in the weekend. Yeah, Lamela struggled. So do they sort of bring Eriksen in? Do they bring Ali in? Do they stick with Moura, because he's had good performances?
The window closes is in, I think it's next week in Spain, or the end of this week maybe, I'm not entirely sure, but it'd be interesting to see if Eriksen does stay, because he'll only have a year left in his contract, and he really wants a new challenge. I don't think he wants to be there, bro.
I would totally understand his reasons for going, because he's probably got one big move left in him.
He does, yeah.
And that would be something like a Madrid, obviously.
Yeah. Well, Atletico look good this season. Yeah. So
but he would be a huge loss for them, because, yes, you can on occasions call Dele Alli a bit of a creative midfielder, but he's not like a De Bruyne or an Eriksen kind of creator.
No, I know what you mean.
Like he knows how to play the ball forward, and he makes good runs and gets in good pockets of space, but he's not an Eriksen.
He's more of a goal scorer in fairness,
exactly. So he would be quite a big loss for them, but obviously Son coming back is good. And I would say Spurs were unlucky in part. They had a couple of good penalty shouts. VAR has been a bit of a weird one this weekend.
VAR.
It was going to come up, wasn't it?
Jesus Christ. How many minutes are we into this podcast right now? We are 5 minutes in and we've already mentioned VAR, and we could have mentioned it at the start.
I'm starting to not understand it a little bit now because...
Oh, Jesus, bro. It's such a grey area.
Yeah.
Like, I fully just... Do you know, somebody put on Twitter the other day that they went to watch a lower league game and they were so much happier with it watching a lower league game with no VAR.
Yeah, it's true.
Because there's just no interruption, and if it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, it's right. We all just move on.
Yeah. No, that and I can see why there would be a bit more enjoyment in just not having it for the odd game here.
Exactly,
You don't have to be second guessing everything. And as a fan, if a goal is scored, if I'm going to be live in the stadium, or even at home, you could say as well, if a goal is scored, you're going to always have that little bit of doubt to think, are they going to check for offside, or are they going to check for a foul in the build-up, or are they going to check that it wasn't a penalty? So there's always going to be that element of it now, isn't it? That
it's not going to go away. They're going to have to find a way to streamline everything.
Even on Match of the Day, I find the games that I don't know the score of, or I haven't seen the highlights on Twitter or something like that, when I see a goal, I'm always pausing almost after every goal for a second, unless I know just by watching it first time there's nothing wrong with it. I'm going, is it going to check that, or
it's
someone offside, or
it's creeping
so
in.
it is frustrating. But what I would say, Spurs, they were a little bit unlucky with a couple of penalty decisions. Could have perhaps gone another way, but to flip that round, I don't think they did enough to justify winning the game either.
And shout out to Newcastle as well. Newcastle, whilst neither of us support Newcastle are a Premier League club. They belong there. They've got a great fan base, and long may their success continue.
A big shout out as well to Paul Dummett.
Yeah,
I believe he had man of the match. I'm just going to double check that, but he was Paul Dummett, man of the match. He was absolutely fantastic. Shah and O'Shea as well, and Jamal Lascelles also very, very good. But
Longstaff too as well.
Yeah, they picked him over Shelby. Interesting, but he justified that. But Paul Dummett especially, he was absolutely everywhere. He blocked everything. He was a wall. So Newcastle and Steve Bruce are going to need a little bit more of that if they're going to do anything this season.
Yeah, shout out to Newcastle, man. Good win. Spurs unlucky, but I don't doubt Spurs will be in the top four. I still think Spurs will come third. Do you reckon?
They're thereabouts. Yeah, third or fourth. But just seeing if there's any decent stats for this one. As you know, I do like a stat.
You do indeed.
Let's have a little look. Tottenham had 79.8% possession in their 1-0 defeat to Newcastle, which is the second highest possession figure for a losing side in the Premier League since 2003, behind only Liverpool's 80.4% against Burnley.
Jesus, that's a mad stat. That is. Fair play. I didn't realise Spurs had that much possession. I really didn't give them the score.
They had a hell of a lot of the ball.
I only saw the highlights though, so I didn't see the whole thing, but yeah, that's crazy. But shout out to Spurs though. I mean, like I said, I think they'll be okay. We'll go into the other shock of the weekend, which was Manchester United against Palace. Now, I can't. Why do I find a starting point with this for United?
You don't. You just get into it.
Do you want me to just get into it?
Get into it.
United, that team last season were a bunch of inconsistent bottle jobs, right? And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the end of the season said, you know what's going to happen? The large majority of this team won't play here again. And the large majority of that team is still there. Now, United can only offer so many chances to certain players. I criticise Daniel James. I'll come to him in a bit, right? And it's not necessarily because of his work rate. I just think the overall package with him isn't quite there yet, which is not necessarily his fault. But there's established pros there. Jesse Lingard, I think he's had like a couple of assists since basically in the best part of a year.
He's had nothing in about 9 months.
He's done absolutely nothing, right? And again, he was anonymous on the weekend. Marcus Rashford. Now, Marcus Rashford has a penalty, right? There's a huge debate between him and Pogba and Solskjaer and the media about who takes this penalty. Now, maybe it's because he's young, and maybe because he's got over exuberant. He wants to prove a point and hit the side net, and you can see what he's going for when he's taking the penalty, which is admirable, right? You have to take care with that, and you just have to stick it away. I don't know what he was thinking in terms of going that far wide.
He obviously backed himself, right? Confidence-wise.
And I like that. That's fine.
I would much prefer the penalty that Rashford missed to the one that Pogba missed.
True.
because he strikes it very clean and very well, and there's only an inch or two difference, right? But I do agree with it at the same time, yeah.
He has to take care.
Yeah. And you look at a penalty that Mark Noble scored. We'll come to that game probably very briefly. When West Ham beat, I want to say it was Sheffield United. Noble scored the opener with a penalty, and he never misses penalties, right? And he put it to the left, but he's just sort of, I don't want to say placed it. It had decent power, but
it's angled a certain way.
And it wasn't right stuck in the bottom corner, but it was more than enough so that
the keeper's not getting it.
Yeah, keeper wasn't getting it, and it was never at risk of going wide.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So I'd maybe like to see that more, but...
That summed up United as a whole. I feel like United, this is what United lack, right? And I'm going to call it the QCC, right? And we can use this throughout the rest of the term. It's quality, character, consistency. Yeah. They lack all three. Now, if you have quality, character, and consistency, and your team have been under the cosh all week in the media over penalties, you're not missing that penalty.
No, you can't.
When you step, you can't miss it. It's a case of, look, I'm putting it down. I'm just going to put it bottom corner, top corner. Don't aim for the side netting and make life difficult for yourself.
We get a penalty next week. Who takes it?
It has to be Rashford. Has to be. Pogba is an awful penalty taker.
He's the striker as well.
If it's not Rashford, it's Martial. Yeah, I'm happy with Martial to take one.
I am happy that Phil Jones and Chris Smalling are nowhere near the defence. That is one big positive.
Yeah.
Because, yes, they've lost and they have drawn. With the Wolves game, obviously, that's not a straightforward away fixture. We know that. And
no, it is tough, and
better
they didn't
teams
do that
have
bad.
dropped points there, right? So,
very true, yeah.
So that game doesn't... I wasn't... you want to get the 3 points, but after that, I wasn't pissed off or that much. I wasn't as frustrated as I am with the Palace game.
Yeah.
So the defence does look a little bit better with Maguire.
There is an improvement there. I will say that, yeah, 100%.
Obviously, Matic, I think his best days are gone, so him not being in the team as well.
That's a blow, his experience, yeah. And McTominay is still not quite there yet, in my opinion.
So there are little positives. Martial looks very sharp. He made some great sort of turns, and he should have had a penalty, I believe, as well.
I'll counter that to say this. This could be his last season as a Manchester United player. Because, again, when you are given the responsibility of the number 9 shirt, you are given the responsibility to lead the line and carry the team. You have to get that team over the line, especially in home games against lower sides. There's no excuses, especially when you sign a new contract. Those days are gone now. Martial is not a youngster. He needs to make that happen. And this is the problem United have. There are too many players cut from that cloth that do not know how to get them over the line. And that's the issue.
I do like the look of Martial this season, though, so far.
He's done okay. I'm not going to big him up, but we'll come back to Martial at Christmas, and we'll see how he's doing then. But I want to get into Dan James, right? So Dan James is a big talking point now. I put out a tweet after the Wolves game that, shall we say, it irked a few people and it ruffled a few feathers. Now, I have no problem with Daniel James. I want to start off by saying that. He comes across as a lovely lad. He's living his dream. He is a workaholic. He will run up and down the pitch for you all day long. He has pace to burn, and he's got a little bit of technique. But me and Becky wanted to bring up a subject today that we feel is quite polarizing, because on Twitter, Manchester United Twitter right now is toxic. I don't know if you've seen some of the tweets.
Yeah, some of them, yeah.
Oh, it's horrendous to even look at, right? So the question me and Becky are going to ask today, and I want everyone's opinions in the comments, and you can tweet us if you want as well, because this is a subject we're going to talk about now. We can revisit in 6 months' time, we can revisit in a year's time, we can revisit in 18 months' time. But the question I want to ask you, and I'll let you go first. Do you think Daniel James will make it at Manchester United?
Now, I want to be careful answering this, because...
Say it with your chest. Say it with your goddamn chest.
I think that he can. Now, there's a difference between he can and he will.
Oh, you are like just a fucking fence sitter, aren't you? Look at you.
But what I will say is that I genuinely do believe that he can.
So that's a yes from you then.
So it's a pretty much a yes.
You can elaborate on your yes if you want.
Yeah.
You don't have to though.
No, I will. I will give a little bit. But the reason why I'm not going to sort of go completely all in on the 100% he will is because history will tell us that he won't. Now you look at some of the youngsters beforehand, like a Zaha, even some like a Memphis Depay, and those just two come to my head straight away. You go back as people, Gabriel Obertan, he's another one.
Obertan was always shit though in fairness.
But we've signed a lot of young like wingers and players over the years that have never come off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Name me someone that has been a huge success other than Cristiano Ronaldo. Nani was decent. He was inconsistent, but he was on. He was
better
on.
He's better than the rest.
Valencia was a winger to a certain point, and he was a decent servant. So history will tell us that he might not actually go on to amount to very much, but you did highlight his pace is obviously one huge asset, and obviously we've seen it in parts, but he's very, very young, and I think that his development to a certain extent, like Ian Roberts mentioned on Twitter, depends on how well Solskjaer also deals with him, because
very true.
The question I would ask you is, do you think that how his development goes would vary depending on whether he's under the management of Solskjaer, Klopp or Guardiola?
Yeah, management is huge. Playing style is huge.
He's been given chances. He's going to get a lot of game time, which can't be said for people like Phil Foden and things like that.
No, but here's the difference, right? And I'm gonna lay it out so you can play it out, right? I'm gonna say he doesn't make it, and I don't say that with any passion in my voice, because
it's not you don't want him to
I
make
want
it.
him to make it.
Yeah.
I really do. He comes across as a really nice lad, and after everything that happened with his father, it's one of those sort of underdog stories. I want to pick a starting point so I can try and articulate this well. You mentioned Wilfred Zaha and Memphis Depay, right? Both of those players had significantly more ability than Daniel James. Is that a fair shout?
Yeah, I would say so.
It's a fair shout, right? Now, Memphis Depay came out recently, and he is with Lyon right now, and he said, the worst thing I ever did was move to Manchester United. I wish I had someone advise me to move to a club bigger than PSV, but smaller than Manchester United. From a development point, me and Becky, we always talk about a stepping stone club. Now, you look at a James Maddison, for example. A James Maddison took a stepping stone. He's gone, where was he initially? He was at Norwich. He's gone to Leicester. Now he's done it at Leicester. He looks to business. He's ready for that step up. Renato Sanchez has just not joined Lille. Now, Renato Sanchez should have done it. He should have gone from Benfica to a bigger club than Benfica, but a smaller club than Bayern, which gives him a chance to develop. Both those players, Zaha included as well, got chewed up and spat out at bigger clubs, because there is no mercy. At a bigger club, an elite club, clubs that want to be up here, you do it now. There's no time to wait. And yes, Daniel James has scored 2 goals, right? But we have to bear this in mind. The only other club that was interested in Daniel James was Leeds. That's it. Now, the bigger clubs, they all have the same shopping list, right? Everybody wants the same players. They're all competing for the same players. What I scratch my head about is why no one else in that top 6 looked at Daniel James and thought, we want him.
It's not always the case, though.
I think more often than not now it is.
Remember
it's
when
such a small market.
Liverpool signed Coutinho for £8 million. Nobody else went in for him. There are examples.
But when it comes to British players, they already know who's who and what's what. Now, Daniel James has ability, but United are asking him now to be the main man in attack. And last year he was a championship player. And as Ian Roberts, shout out to Ian, he pointed out, Daniel James is actually very underdeveloped. He only started really playing towards the end of the year for Swansea. Now, when you take a player who's playing in a mid-table championship side and a club that's going to play or is challenging for an elite place at the top table, you're asking an awful lot of Daniel James. And as I said, he is surrounded right now by bottle jobs and inconsistency. And I think that is what's going to let him down, because I don't think Solskjaer will be manager by the end of the season. And right now, Daniel James is an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer passion project. Solskjaer's given him all this game time. I think if another manager came in, they go, hang on a minute, who's he? Would Daniel James get in at a Man City?
Right now?
Yeah.
Well, not in front of their front three, of course he wouldn't.
Would he get in at a Liverpool?
No.
No. Would he get in at Real Madrid?
No.
No. Would he get in at a Barca?
Of course he wouldn't.
Bayern?
No.
No. And this is the point I'm making. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
But what I would say is that you could probably say that any young player in the world won't get in front in any of those.
No, that's true, and that's very true, but these clubs are not taking chances on a Daniel James. They're buying established quality. Mm-hmm. It's all good saying Daniel James works hard. That's fine. I watched Daniel James multiple times for Swansea play live. He was okay. I didn't sit there and go, this guy could play for a top 4 club. I looked at him and I thought, oh, he could play at the top end of the Championship or the bottom end of the Premier League and use that as a stepping stone. And in a few years' time, maybe 2 or 3 seasons, he might get a bigger move.
I mean, like a Mason Mount or Harry Wilson.
Well, exactly. I mean, Harry Wilson. Look, I mean, let's look at it like this. You take the top players, right? The top young players. We'll create tiers right now, just for argument's sake. Tier 1, you've got Sancho, you've got Vinicius, you got João Felix, right? Tier 2, you would then put in a Phil Foden. You could put in James Maddison to a degree. He's doing bits, and there's probably a few others out there as well, right? Tier 3, you could then, if we use the Welsh players for an example, you have Brooks, very good player, lit up the Premier League last season, quite well developed. Harry Wilson scored an absolute screamer yesterday against City. Literally one of the best goals that I've probably ever seen from a free kick. Unbelievable. Very well developed. Scored almost, I think it was close to 20 goals in the Championship last year. They are significantly more advanced than Daniel James in terms of their development. But they're at smaller clubs where there's less pressure. Yes. Bournemouth is a perfect place for those players to go, develop, and in 2 or 3 years' time, then get that move. Because Harry Wilson could have stayed at Liverpool. He could have took the money, but he said, you know what, let me take this step back to develop and then move forward. Daniel James is at the wrong club to develop. And I feel like Manchester United, with the inconsistency they have, the lack of character they have, the fact I don't think Solskjaer will even be manager there next season, is a problem for him moving forward, bro. Because if another coach comes in, they might not utilise him the way Solskjaer does. I don't think he'll make it.
You may very well be right, but I don't think he's going to play every game for a start.
I think they don't have much choice right now.
No, I actually don't think he is going to play every game. He's started the last 2 fixtures, right?
Who would you play on the right instead of him though?
Well, you've got you got obviously Martial, and you've got Lingard, and you've got Rashford as a 3. Greenwood obviously is another option. He's another youngster.
Greenwood again, a good, decent option off the bench, but very underdeveloped.
I just think that he needs more time.
And you know what? And
he will get it.
I am not against him having time, right? But that time shouldn't be with Manchester United. And I want Daniel James to succeed, right? But here's the thing. When Manchester United offer you a contract, it's like someone giving you a winning lottery ticket. It's impossible to just turn it down, right? His advisors, they need to be neutral on the situation. I don't know if they maybe saw pound signs. I don't know if they saw something in it for them. But in the cold light of day, they have to pull him to one side and say, look, I don't know if this is the right move for you right now. Because again, he's very underdeveloped. And I just feel like he's going to get sandbagged somewhere down the line. I can't see him making it. I can't.
If he's going to do what he did on Saturday, even just once in a game, then he won't do that badly.
Well, look, again, I have to salute him for that because that was a
very good goal.
It was a very good finish. But, and this is the big but, United want to dine at the top table. And again, if United somehow get Champions League football next season, they're going to go in for bigger players. And again, that's going to limit his time playing. I don't think United is the place for him. I think he'll be a success at a smaller club, and I think he'll have a very good career. I hope he does for the sake of Welsh football. But to summarise, at this point, I don't think Daniel James will make it at Manchester United. You do.
I think he can.
You think he can? You're such a fucking fence sitter. But what we'll do, we'll revisit this topic in 6 months' time or 12 months' time, and we'll see how he's coming along. But me and Vaki wanted to put that out there because it's a good debate to have. You know, there's plenty of people that will think yes, and plenty of people that will think no. So again, let us know in the comments what you think. Tweet us. Let us know on IG. We'll interact with you. We're social. We want to discuss it. Okay, so we'll leave United as it is. Shout out to Palace though for the win because
first time they've beaten United.
Yeah, look, I mean,
in the Premier League.
Roy Hodgson. I mean, we've slated him enough on this podcast, but realistically, the Stegosaurus got a result right, and Palace are laughing all the way to the bank. So it doesn't matter what we think. But anyway, yeah, United, Palace, United. It's always next week. Palace on the way up. Okay, cool. Right, who do you want to talk next, bro? Do you want to talk about Liverpool, Arsenal? It was a good game. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. For the neutral, very, very good. Ceballos went from hero to zero.
He did.
Oh, he went missing in that game, bro. I don't want to say it, but he went full missing child.
Last week, I'm going to dig him out for this, recently.
Dig.
I actually might even get the entire fucking WhatsApp conversation up.
Well, look, we got time.
Bear with. Now, talk to me about Ceballos at the moment. I'm going to get this part up in the podcast.
Ceballos against Burnley was just absolutely breathtaking. I thought he was superb. But as we said, towards the end of the Arsenal segment in the last podcast, and I think you actually said it, you said, let's be very mindful, it's just Burnley. Let's see how he gets on.
I've got it right here.
Right, speak out.
Reece Henley, on the 17th of August, Saturday.
We got receipts and everything, dates.
Said, I tell you what, lads, Ceballos looks like one hell of a player.
Yeah.
To which I replied, too early to tell yet, but he was good. Reece Henley says, he was exceptional. Caught me off guard because I thought he'd be no good. To which I said, he did turn a few heads when he was at Betis, but it's only Burnley, so time will tell.
You did say that in the podcast as well, actually.
And this is exactly what I was weary of. Because at home, against Burnley, a fixture which you would think Arsenal should be winning and should be on the front foot and should be seeing a lot of the ball, and a player like Ceballos in the position that he's in on the pitch, to a degree,
see a lot of the ball,
should be pulling strings.
Yeah, which he did.
That's what he was brought in to do it. And he did, and he was very, very good. But he's come up against good opposition away from home, and I don't remember seeing him have the ball all.
Well, he did have the ball, and I'm pretty sure he passed it to Mane in the box.
Yes.
And that Liverpool high press, Match of the Day highlighted it very well. They killed Arsenal with the high press, and Arsenal constantly tried to play out of it instead of over it.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't. Arsenal couldn't string passes together. When they did, they did okay, but that Liverpool side, we have to, as bad as Arsenal were in certain parts, we must praise Liverpool.
Before we do that, though,
yes,
can we also just criticise somebody else?
Who?
David Luiz.
Okay, yeah. So right, Sideshow Bob. Now
he deserves his own unique.
Arsenal
criticism.
Fan TV. They were very happy when they signed him, and a few of them went in on him on the weekend. Rightly so. It's funny because Robbie and Arsenal Fan TV said, he had a really good game apart from the two key moments. Well, that's no longer a good game. That's no longer a good game, unfortunately. I mean, realistically, the two key moments where you need your centre half to basically make shit happen.
Yeah.
He absolutely fluffed his lines.
I would never watch Phil Jones and have a good game and then he gives away 2 goals and then I would at the end say, but he did have a good game though.
With David Luiz, just to quickly point out what me and Becky have always said, if David Luiz plays in a 3, he can be the central guy in a 3 and he can have 2 natural defenders alongside him, at which point if you need someone to play the ball out to the back, he has unbelievable technical skills. He can be the guy that you just give the ball to. You say, okay, you distribute it, leave the defending to us. There's very little pressure on him to defend in the 3. It's just he does the basics.
He's good at set pieces. He's good with his head. He's not slow.
Very true.
He's got a good range of passing and
exceptional range of passing.
I suppose so. But and every once in a while he's actually very dangerous from a free kick position.
He is.
But if he's not in a 3 and he's in a 2,
when he's in a 2,
he is so vulnerable, so vulnerable.
He is, especially against the bigger sides.
He's got such a mistake in him.
He has
always
a mistake in him. A minimum one a game.
Yeah,
minimum. When you give him that type of defensive responsibility, he really, really struggles.
And the way he lunged in on Salah was so amateurish,
bro. Like that's
I wouldn't do that.
Props to Salah, right? Because that second goal, or there's the Liverpool third goal. Sorry, the second Salah goal was just outrageous. Yeah. It was absolutely outrageous how good it was.
We'll obviously give lots of credit to Salah and Liverpool in just a second, but when I watched the highlights of Luiz lunging in, I just thought, what are you doing? You as a centre half for a top club being paid as much as he is.
The game plan goes out the window then, doesn't it?
Yeah, where is your situational judgment there? You wouldn't see Van Dijk doing that.
You certainly wouldn't.
You wouldn't see Alderweireld or Laporte doing that.
No.
That's
the difference between the good and the great, though.
But Arsenal fans, they were very happy with the signing of Luiz.
I didn't think it was that impressive at all.
And when they signed him, I kind of thought, depending on how they use him, he could be better than what you have. But if they're going to use him like that, then it's a pointless signing.
Well, I'm interested to see Tierney come into that Arsenal side. Bellerin comes back from injury. Bellerin might take quite a while. Might take quite a while to establish himself because you look at Oxlade-Chamberlain, he had a similar injury and he's only now finding his feet. So, when they do come back eventually, it'll be interesting to see how Arsenal move forward. But there's signs, Pepe again, he was very good as well. He did miss a sitter. The ball was caught under his feet a little bit, but I saw enough in Pepe to go, you know what? there's something in this guy.
He looks very sharp. He's very quick, and you can see his ability.
The black iron Robin.
Indeed. And Aubameyang, Lacazette, I've seen enough from them all separately to know that Arsenal will cause big problems for teams this season.
True that.
Yes, you could say the ball might have got stuck into his feet slightly, but in that position, for the money that he cost, that shouldn't be happening. He should be sticking that in the back of the net.
Do you know what? I'm going to allow him that one because it was his debut and because he's finding his feet, But from here on in, he's going to need a bang.
And it was a good sign seeing Arsenal get a goal back. Obviously, it meant nothing, but it showed a bit of a character about them that they didn't give up. Because Arsenal teams in the past would have lost 4 or 5-0.
Yeah, I think Liverpool did take the foot off the gas a little bit, but
they did push to the end, which shows that they might have a little bit of something about them. But it was clear to see a gulf in class.
There's definitely more about that Arsenal side, than there was last season. And Liverpool, I mean, there's only so much we can say about Liverpool in the sense that they're just consistently brilliant. Yeah, they are consistently good.
Guy Neville said it, didn't he? And I remember watching the game, and he said it hurts me to say how good this Liverpool side is.
Bro, they are a phenomenal side. They really are. And if Manchester City in any way slip up, they won't catch Liverpool this season.
Don't think Liverpool are going to win it again.
Do you reckon you're going City?
Going City again.
I'm going to go out and say...
last season, I was like
shit, I flip-flop really bad last season. All right, cool. We'll go to an interval. Holy shit, you. I know. I'm going to say City. Yeah, I'm going to say City. Yeah. That might be subject to change.
It is subject to change.
It is subject to change.
You went to Liverpool top of Christmas, you're going to be...
I'm going to stick with City this season because I do think... I think Guardiola's got one Premier League win left in him, and I don't know if... I think we were just on about this now. Klopp was saying how 2022 he is going to probably leave Liverpool when his contract ends because he wants a break from football. I feel like before that time is out, Liverpool will win a title. It might not be this season, but if not, it'll be within the next 3 seasons. That squad, when they maybe add to it a bit more again and they continue to develop, they're going to do all right.
A couple of decent stats here to end this fixture with. And that's Liverpool's 12th consecutive Premier League victory, which is their best ever winning streak in the Premier League.
Okay.
And since Jurgen Klopp took over in October 2015, Liverpool have scored 26 goals in 8 Premier League games against Arsenal, which is the most one side has netted against another in the competition during that period. So they dick on Arsenal bad every time.
They really do.
I'm just checking. Only Everton at Arsenal have conceded more away goals against a single opponent in the Premier League than Arsenal have at Liverpool. That's 60.
Jesus, Arsenal really do get dicked on, don't they? Jesus Christ.
And Arsenal fans, they've now failed to win any of their last 23 away league games against fellow Big Six sides. During this run, they've conceded 53 goals whilst keeping just 1 clean sheet.
Wow, that's where they need to improve. Okay, we will go to an interval now. Add us up on the social media platforms. Me and Becky will be back with the best of the rest. Stay tuned. Add us up. We'll be back shortly. All right, we're back. We roll in. We in this. City, Bournemouth. Shout out to Seth,
every
man.
Time.
I told you I watched Superbad the other night.
I watched it about 2 days after you as well.
Classic film. Everything he touches turns to gold. Maybe he could get involved with Bournemouth as well.
100%.
I think that would be a good partnership.
Top 6 side probably.
Yeah, 100%.
Get
totally
Seth
agree.
on board.
Seth, if you're watching, I know you do watch. Get on the case. Anyway, right. Harry Wilson, wizardry.
He is.
That was one of the finest goals I've probably ever seen from a free kick. Like it was genuinely that good. I think him making that move is a very brave move, but I think on a personal note, it's going to benefit him hugely. Reece completely disagreed with me the other day. He's like, no,
Reece disagrees on a lot.
Reece, if I said black, Reece would say white some days. So I know
he's often wrong,
and sometimes he is right as well. He is right.
But for the purpose of this, I'm going to go with
he's wrong.
The glass half empty, and he's wrong.
I'd say the glass is half empty with this one. Bournemouth have a player on their hands. 2 very exciting Welsh prospects in Brooks and Wilson. If they can get them firing in attack together, they might add a bit more consistency to a Bournemouth side that really struggled last season at points.
Yeah.
But that was the only plus point for Bournemouth. City ran riot. Sterling bagged again. Aguero, the gunman, bagged twice. And David Silva was just... He's an alien, I'm telling you. Yeah. He's a freak.
It's getting to that, just a kind of word on City and Bournemouth, really. You know, you said Harry Wilson's free kick was kind of the only really good thing. But with playing City these days, I feel like unless you're really on it
You're not getting nothing.
and you have a very good performance,
Yeah.
then you're not going to get anything out of the game against City
No,
or Liverpool.
That's very true. Very
So,
true.
when we said that was the only good thing for Bournemouth, I'm certainly by no means saying that they were terrible.
No, they just couldn't get near City, that's all.
City were just too good. And you look at City's lineup compared to Bournemouth's lineup, and it's not even a case of home or away anymore when you play City or Liverpool. They're just both such good sides that unless you are an 8 or a 9 out of a 10 at least, then you're not going to get anything in the game. So, as you said, Aguero, another 2 goals. How many has he got now? 5 million, 1,100.
Yeah, and the rest.
In not that many games either.
And the rest.
Yeah, he's incredible. Sterling on the score sheet again. David Silva, brilliant. So they're just, unless they're going to play Liverpool, they're going to be pretty much untouchable.
Do you know what's funny, right? And I was thinking this the other day, and people let me know your opinions on it as well. We live in a day and age where experts, their opinion gets kind of poo-pooed, it gets dismissed a little bit. We had a Brexit and everyone was like, oh, fuck what the experts say, we don't care what the experts say, we only want to listen to the average man in the street, which is fine, it's not, each to their own in it, do you know what I mean? Jose Mourinho came out the other day and he said Manchester City's B team could win the title. Now I looked at that Manchester United team on the weekend. A Manchester United squad is wafer thin. Like if they get 1 or 2 injuries, they are wholly fucked.
Yeah.
And Man City's B team is unbelievably strong. The amount of strength and depth they have. If it wasn't David Silva, it could have been De Bruyne.
Yeah.
If it wasn't De Bruyne, it could have been Gundogan. If it wasn't him, it could have been Phil Foden. If it wasn't him, it could have been Bernardo Silva or anybody else in between. There's levels to this. And again, just going back to my whole Dan James thing, the real top clubs replace quality with quality. And what they do is, Phil Foden, for example, they never ask Phil Foden to win a game by himself. What they say is, we're going to surround you with quality, they're going to guide you through the game, and they're going to lead you. Now what you then do is, you follow their lead. They set the example, you follow the example.
Yeah.
That's how you bring through young players. You don't just put a bullseye on their back and then hope that they do something. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I feel Dan James and Phil Foden, they're a little different in that respect. I do feel like Phil Foden, whilst it is tough for him to get in that side, when he does get in there, he has a lot of guidance.
No.
And the strength and depth City have, they're going to be hard to
Yeah,
stop.
it's a very valid point. Obviously, they started with Bernardo Silva, who we know is fantastic. Same with David Silva, he had man of the match. De Bruyne, he's actually become the fastest player to reach 50 assists
Really?
in the Premier League out of anyone.
Really?
Which in itself just... did we even need that stat to know how good the Kevin De Bruyne is at
No.
at
Who holds the
creating?
most? Is it Fabregas?
Giggs.
Or is it Giggs? Fabregas is close, though, he's up there.
Yeah, it's Giggs, then it's Rooney, I think, then Fabregas.
Okay.
Obviously, it would depend on how long De Bruyne stays in the Premier League,
Yeah.
but he's reached 50, which is no joke, quicker than anybody else before him. So,
Yeah, fair play.
and that's not to mention Mahrez and Foden as well that can come in. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, Sane's had injured and looked
Sane,
not
yeah.
missing Sane, so...
Yeah, so the strength and depth they have is absolutely ridiculous. It's their 9th straight away win. So just further valid, as I said, whether it's home or away. Yes, they drew against Spurs, but obviously we know that they deserved a lot more from the game. So we could have been talking about how many games they'd won on the bounce. So yeah, that's why I mentioned earlier, I think they're still going to want to win the title just because of their strength and depth. Yes, Liverpool, they do have some decent backup, but City have pretty much
They've got serious firepower,
world-class
bro.
backup.
Serious firepower.
Fernandinho, obviously, and Rodri. So everywhere you look, the player that comes on in replace of the player going
The only
off.
thing I would say is they maybe have a little bit of a soft centre defensively.
But
maybe.
that's if you get to it.
That is if you get to it. Even
Yeah.
then, Laporte is very good. Like, I'm a huge Laporte fan. It's just the player, whoever is alongside him. I prefer Otamendi to Stones. But, I mean, look,
Yeah.
neither is that bad in fairness, really.
Exactly,
Are they?
yeah.
But, yeah, no, shout out to City. They did well. Bournemouth, I mean, look, it's one of those games. You have it's a free hit. You can play
It
them.
is, yeah.
If you win, great. If you get something, great. If you don't, it's not the end of the world, is it? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, shout out to the two of them. Norwich and Chelsea, quick.
Great
Okay,
game.
right. Great game for neutral again.
Yeah.
We'll pick the plus points. Tammy Abraham, good on you, son. middle finger up to the racists. Fuck you. Scored 2 great goals. Led the line well. Mason Mount is some player as well, by the way. We need to talk about Mason Mount.
What do you make about him then, going to a big club versus someone like Daniel James?
Well, get this. Mason Mount went to Derby, though, and he learned his trade. And Mason Mount was playing in a very good Derby side that got to, the playoff final? And he was instrumental in that.
But if you sort of compare that, Dan James was at Swansea, Mason Mount at
here's the thing.
Derby.
Mason Mount is a Chelsea boy, right? He's an academy player. If Chelsea had a transfer ban, or didn't have a transfer ban, would Mason Mount be there now?
But that is a question.
I don't think he would.
But if we compare the situation of now, there are a lot of similarities.
There's a lot of similarities.
They both scored 2 goals.
They both scored 2 goals.
They both showed flashes.
True that.
It'd be interesting to see which one of them goes on to have the better season.
I think Mason Mount is naturally more gifted than Daniel James in terms of... I know they're 2 very different positions, but I think Mason Mount is a very gifted footballer. I think he'll score a lot of goals for Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
He is an academy player, so he's been playing at a top club from a young age. Daniel James hasn't. Mason Mount, there's no transfer fee involved, so in that respect, there's no pressure. Daniel James does now have a transfer fee to justify. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think Mason Mount will be better.
We'll see.
What are you saying?
We'll see. I'm going to back my boy DJ just to be a
do you know what? Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
I did have to laugh. Obviously, you mentioned Tammy Abraham. Very good on him. After sort of the performances that he's had, he's been unlucky. He's suffered a bit of racial abuse. So it was nice to see him take
shocking
his
racial
goals
abuse.
well.
Sorry to cut you off, bro. Shocking racial abuse again on Twitter of Pogba, Rashford, Abraham. What are you fucking losers out here doing? Will you seriously just get a life, get laid? Yeah. Maybe go out and get a role model. I don't know what's wrong with these kids.
Just play some fucking Xbox and shut up.
Just shut the fuck up, innit?
I did have to laugh that Luke Edwards obviously interacted with Page a lot.
As well, yeah.
He did say something quite funny. He said that Marcus Rashford is just a B-Tech Tammy Abraham. After he missed the penalty, I was like, yeah, you're a fucker. But as it stands, maybe. But what a game this was. Norwich, to their credit, I know they're at home, but they were very unlucky not to get out of the game.
Bro, Norwich are going to cause problems, right, for a lot of teams, purely on the basis that they're very good going forward. Very good. Defensively, they're not going to keep them out, but you'll find Norwich will win a lot of games 2-1, I think.
Pukki blind, isn't it?
Look, the Pukki blind is no Pukki, no party. That's how it is.
Exactly. But they've got some other good players as well. I can't remember the name of the player, it eludes me, who hit the crossbar with a header at the end as well.
I'd have to go back
another youngster. But Pukki looks sharp. Cantwell looks sharp as well. He obviously set up Pukki for both of his goals.
Pukki had an interview. I don't know if it was on BBC, but he was saying he's been put in over 500 million fantasy football teams across the world.
What?
That's what he says.
Well, he reckons he has, or he knows he has.
Well, I don't know if he reckons he has or if he knows he has. Maybe I got the 500 million figure wrong. I don't know if that many people do. But put it this way, a lot of people do. He is in, I don't know how many fancy football teams now, but he's in an awful lot. Mm-hmm. And he was saying how all the Finnish kids now want to be Pukki instead of Ronaldo or Messi. And I thought that was a nice touch. I mean, all the kids in the schoolyard want to be Pukki and play for Norwich.
Finally want to be someone
other than Ronaldo or Messi, which is nice.
He got another goal again.
Good play.
What's he on, 5 now? 4 or 5? I think he's on. He's had a very good start. And
he got a hat-trick, first game?
No, he got a hat-trick against Newcastle.
Yeah.
But he scored... Did he score in the opener? They played against Liverpool and he scored. So that's 1-4-5.
Yes, 5.
Great start, and I believe I said after the first game that Norwich are going to need Pukki to be firing like that. And take
100%.
Because that was one of his only chances Norwich had.
But he bagged.
And he bagged and said that he might not get very many, so he needs to start taking them, and he is. But obviously credit to Chelsea as well, though. They did keep going. Mason Mount's goal was very good. Abraham's second goal especially.
Oh, great finish, yeah.
The way the ball came into him at pace, and he opened it up and sort of really good first touch, took it away from the defenders, and then he just sort of caught the keeper cold and finished it nicely as well. So Chelsea are interesting at the moment.
They needed that, didn't they? They really
Frank needed that as well, yeah. And there was a stat here as well that with Ross Barkley replacing Pedro, it was Chelsea's youngest starting 11 in a Premier League match since February 1994.
Really?
And they were an average team age of 24 years, 208 days. And we know that that's largely in part to the fact that the transfer ban, and he's had to bring young players off loan. But I don't want to say I definitely don't like Chelsea, but watching them play at the moment with some young players, and I kind of
there's a different feeling about Chelsea this year.
I'm preferring seeing them. It's not just sort of they're not the Chelsea teams in the past are not giving youth a chance. They've always had a lot of talent, and you haven't seen very much of it. But now, yes, they have to a little bit. But
they still got more to come back as well. Hudson-Odoi, Loftus-Cheek. Who else? I don't know if Willian played.
Shout out to Pulisic as well. He's looking a bit sharp in the last couple of games.
Oh, well, look, I mean, as we discussed in a previous video, I mean, he looks very sharp, but really, I mean, I think should he be taking a wage cut now to have the same pay as Megan Rapinoe? Should he? I mean, it's the debate we haven't, right? So we won't get into that right now. If you want to see that, go see the other video we put out. Clearly, it's a touchy subject for a lot of people, but we don't care. So whatever. Right, yeah, we'll leave Chelsea. Very well done to them. Norwich, we're going to discuss them more depth as the season goes on because they'll have a lot more to offer.
Great statue, by the way.
Yeah, great. Go on.
Before we move on, I just read it. Have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you won't get it, but just
all right,
okay. Timo Pukki.
Yeah.
Just bring him up once more. 5 goals.
Yeah.
He's the 10th player to score in each of his first 3 Premier League appearances. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't ask me to name the other 9 because there's no way I can.
But whilst only one player has also scored as many as 5 in his first 3 in the Premier League.
Okay.
Do you know who that is? You would never get it. I'm going to quit the podcast if you get it. You have to get resent. If anyone's shouting at the screen,
Didier Drogba?
No. Do you remember Pavel Pogrebniak?
Who?
Play for Fulham, I believe it was.
No.
The Russian, the lanky Russian.
That's a rare. How am I going to forget him?
I'm actually really impressed that I pronounced his name correctly. Let me just get him up for you.
The lanky Russian. How the fuck am I supposed to remember him?
And he didn't go on to score that many goals. Great start.
I don't have a clue who that guy is, bro.
What? I played for Reading as well.
Not a clue.
Do you remember?
No.
Look at this guy.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Was it? Did he come in for Spurs?
Dynamo Moscow, Tosno.
Fulham, Reading. I knew I was right with Fulham. He scored 5 in his first 3. So Timo Pukki, just going to put that out there. If he follows exactly the trajectory of the person who did it before him, then it ain't going to end well.
Oh shit, man! Shout out to Pukki though. Yeah,
doing well.
Alright, cool. Alright, the other games. So we'll pick 2 in terms of the cluster that are outside the top 6.
Yeah.
West Ham, Leicester. 2 very good sides, 2 very good wins. Shout out to Oli Mcburnie as well, first and foremost, in the Sheffield United game. Scored a very, very good goal. Delighted for him because he's a top lad. Don't know if you saw him on Twitter. He was in the away end for Swansea QPR. Bought drinks to all the Swansea fans. Legend. Players that don't live in that bubble and come out of it and sort of interact with
How much
regular
that cost
folk.
him, by the way?
London prices.
How many of them were there, do you
I want to say 50 to 100, maybe. £6 each. That's nothing. I mean, if he's earning 20k a week, then that's nothing.
I suppose it's not. No,
I mean, that's a pair of shoes for most of these guys, right?
Yeah.
But it's a nice gesture. Good on him. Scored a great goal. I thoroughly hope he succeeds. Now, case in point, very quickly, Oli Mcburnie. If Oli Mcburnie joined Arsenal tomorrow, do you think that would be a smart move for him?
No.
No, thank you. Okay, right. There we go. Case in point with Daniel James. Oli Mcburnie now is at a stepping stone club. He can play at Sheffield United, develop there, and then get another move. And then if he wants to get another move. I'm just making this point continuously for people that think, oh, well, you know what, we'll just magically go from a Championship club to a Premier League club and, you know, he'll do the business. Because there's Man United fans out there, right, who have over-egged that pudding like you wouldn't believe. They have called him the Welsh Messi, the next Giggs. Fucking hell, Man United Twitter's hard recently. It's to the point where I might take up Scrabble or something because I can't fucking cope. But anyway, shout out to Oli Mcburnie. Great goal. Top boy. We love him. Leicester. Excellent win away from home.
Yeah.
Madison was instrumental again. Harvey Barnes. I tweeted that Harvey Barnes scored the goal of the weekend, and then Harry Wilson said, "Fuck that. Let me tell you, I can score one better."
It's still close.
That half volley, right? I've never seen a half volley hit that sweet, and the pace. Dean Henderson it didn't know what went past him.
They're 2 different types of goals, obviously. I know
2 different techniques.
That is obvious.
Yeah.
But I don't know which one's harder.
I'd say I'd say Wilson from a standing start.
I don't know, because when you're catching someone on the half volley,
and his was closer. Barnes was closer as well.
but it could go absolutely fucking anywhere, that half volley.
It could, but if you get it sweet though, I tell you what.
I'm gonna say that I preferred Harvey Barnes.
How did I know you would say something there? Well, I'm going Wilson. How does that sound?
But I mean, but only by a smidge.
Okay, that's
only.
Fine. They were both excellent goals.
I just
Again,
remember,
let us know your opinions as well.
When I saw them both happen, when Wilson's winning, I kind of just paused and went, "Oh, that's a fucking great goal," right? That's what I did.
Yeah.
But when I saw Harvey Barnes, I literally erupted. I went, "Oh my fucking god!" like that kind of reaction. Like an Andy Gray when Gerrard caught that half.
Yeah, beauty.
I was like, "Oh, what a thunder bastard!"
Was Andy Gray before the sexism?
Yeah,
or maybe it was during the sexism. I don't think he's ever stopped.
We will never know that.
Yeah, we'll never know.
Yeah. Leicester have obviously moved into third.
Yeah.
Obviously very early days. I would like to say, it's they've had a nosebleed this far up the table, but I would be wrong, because they have been this high up the table.
They're a solid outfit, bro. They're a solid outfit.
They've been even higher up the table, and they've stayed even higher up the table.
There is serious pressure on certain clubs, Man United and Arsenal. I wouldn't say Spurs this season, but I would say Man United, Arsenal, and potentially Chelsea, that if they don't get it together, or they have a run of form where they are very poor, Wolves and Leicester, potentially maybe West Ham, Bournemouth, if they get it together, could come and take those places.
Especially
Do not
Leicester
underestimate them. Complacency will be at your peril.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. But shout out to Leicester. Great win for them. Harvey Barnes with a fucking thunderbolt. A thunderbolt.
Mm-hmm.
It was unbelievable. And West Ham coming to them. Well, Watford, they've definitely peaked. I don't know what we can say about Watford, because I do not want to rub it in for Watford fans. Last season, they got to the FA Cup final. They got absolutely bummed, and everything since then has just been downhill.
Bummed.
They got absolutely mauled.
Yeah, that is true.
Mauled. And since then, bro, they haven't been the same. Maybe it's a confidence issue. Maybe they thought last season we can compete with the bigger clubs, and maybe they thought, we're onto something here, and that just set them back completely, because they've not been the same club since.
No, that's very true.
And West Ham are just West Ham. Look, 1 minute they're up, the next minute they're down.
Then he was signing, bagged a brace.
Am I saying his name? Haller?
Haller. Sebastian.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
His bicycle kick, by the way, that screamed athleticism at the highest level. It was just, when I saw it, I just went, oh shit, he really did that. Like, he wasn't a lot of room to maneuver either.
No.
Up, in, out, done, see you later. But yeah, West Ham, bro, I fully rate Pellegrini as a manager. I think he's incredibly underrated. West Ham are so lucky to have him, because he's just such a nice, composed guy. Tactically, he's very good. He knows how to spot a good player. He's a huge asset for West Ham.
He's the type of manager that would stop them from getting into any real trouble, like Benitez was doing with Newcastle.
And do you know what? Again, he may take them a little higher than they anticipated as well. I think he's a very good manager, and you know what? The signings he's made, looking at them, I don't get enough from saying Haller's name right, but him, you look at who have we got here in this West Ham lineup.
Another couple of...
I like Issa Diop is a very good player. We talk about Issa Diop in transfer videos. I like Yarmolenko.
Lanzini's come back.
Lanzini's come back. Look, Felipe Anderson, we already know what he can do. Fabianski's a very smart signing as well, solid goalkeeper. There's no reason West Ham can't push on for a top 8 finish. There is none.
If you look at Watford's next few fixtures as well, where are they in the league at the moment, Watford? They're right down low,
Watford are... I'm going to say somewhere at the bottom. My computer won't load it up. Hang on.
I'm sure I'll give you a second.
Watford are... Oh, well, we won't say anything. We won't mention what they are.
So, they've got a game away to Newcastle next, right? 31st of August, which they're going to need to get something, because after that, they go away. They got Arsenal home, then they're away to City, and then away to Wolves. So Javi Gracia could really be in trouble here, because unless he gets them away to Newcastle, which Newcastle aren't the best side in the Steve Bruce, but one thing that they are is fairly difficult to break down. Especially at home, and they're going to be coming off the back of a very good win. So the crowd's going to be up, so that's going to be tough.
It's a very tough.
So they don't get anything out of that. They're unlikely to get anything out of the Arsenal game, or the City game, or the Wolves game. So before we know it now, Watford could have played 4, 5, 7 games and have 0
they're stuck
points.
at the bottom.
0 points.
And they are rooted to the
And
bottom.
you look at what happened to, was it Frank de Boer when he was Palace manager? He got sacked after.
Well, look,
6
do you know,
games
a lot of these board members, they get itchy trigger fingers, bro.
They do.
And they're like, you know what? I can't see a way out of this. You're going to have to go. And some people may call it short-sighted. Other people, if it comes off, will say it's very good management from, you know, the board above. But
It's a gamble, isn't it?
it is a gamble.
Because there's nothing. If he does go, say, 6-7 games without getting points on the board, that's a bit of a hole that they're going to find themselves in.
They got quality, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they can pull it out the bag. It's just,
But then it's
do
a
they have the
question of-
character to go with it now?
Yeah. Suppose you ask then, has the manager still got control of the dressing room? Is it just a bad run of form?
You don't really hear any discontent at Watford, though.
No.
Everyone seems okay. They just might have had a bad start. But last season, expectations now are up here.
Mhm.
And I think, you know, maybe tone it down a little bit. But I'm interested. I like Watford. I thought they were a good club last season. I don't see why they can't have a solid finish this season. But it may be the case that it takes time just to get into a rhythm. Maybe.
Indeed.
I don't know. But anyway, we'll go on to the last couple of games. Brighton, Sutton. Shout out to Joe as well. Joe watches every week. He's a massive Southampton fan.
Yeah, I did notice, yeah.
And he will be absolutely bouncing that they've beaten a South Coast rival. Southampton again. I mean, look, bro, I don't anticipate too many problems for them. I mean, it's going to be one of those seasons, right, where Southampton aren't going to be pushing for a Europa League place, but they're not going to be relegated. So it's just one of those comfy seasons where I think they can just enjoy Premier League football. There'll be times on this podcast where it's so routine for Southampton, there won't be an awful lot we can really say.
Yeah. Hasenhüttl, which, you know, you can say his name correctly? now?
Hasenhüttl.
Yeah,
He's
so
in a German accent. Otherwise I
you
can't
have
say it.
struggled previously with that, but yeah, you're hitting some consistency.
My
now.
Austrian lessons are
Yeah.
paying off.
You know, he's a pretty decent manager, so I wouldn't really.
He's a very good manager.
I don't think we'll be seeing Southampton in any real trouble at all. I think they will be helped by the fact that even if they do go through a bad spell, that there's clubs below them that will just continuously be worse. So they'll always be okay.
I agree, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, there's not a lot to say about Southampton, Brighton, other than, again, Brighton are going to be in the mix for relegation. I think they will struggle.
They did look okay in spells in the game. Graham Potter, obviously,
He's trying to implement something there, isn't
he's
he?
had an okay start, but it's not easy to get his
No.
style across
It's not.
and have it sort of work
And I think
consistently.
if I was to put money on teams going down, Brighton might be in there. I don't bet. I invest in property. But, I mean, if they were to do that, then maybe.
I mean, yeah, there is that possibility. I mean, I would be looking at something like a Villa. It's a tougher one to call this year, I think. There's no.
If you had to pick a bottom three now, who would you pick?
There's not as many standout teams this year as like last year. Like, who was the three that went down last year? Was it Cardiff
Fulham.
and Huddersfield?
Yeah.
And obviously, Cardiff and Huddersfield, we said that them two were
From
going to
the
go down
get-go.
right away. But you look at the table now, and I don't see two like really standout sides. If you know what I mean.
No, I got you. Yeah, no, that's a fair shout because, I mean, even if you look from 15th up, they're all relatively solid.
Especially with the way Norwich have started. If you'd asked me at the beginning of the season,
I would still
would've
say
gone
they go
Norwich.
down, man.
So you
I think Norwich,
Villa.
Reece is going to kill me, right? But I'm going to say Newcastle.
Depends how long they keep Bruce for.
Purely on the basis that Bruce is there.
Yeah. So what about Newcastle, Norwich, Villa?
Okay. I would
For
agree
now.
with that. Yeah.
If Steve Bruce goes on a bad run still and they get rid of him before Christmas, then perhaps not Newcastle, depending on who they bring in. But Norwich, Villa, and maybe you'd say something that's still like a Brighton or something like that.
Actually, yeah, I tell a lie. Let me replace Villa with Brighton
So Newcastle, Brighton,
and
Norwich.
Norwich, yeah. That's my take. Again, let us know your opinions on it, people. We want to interact with you. We want to know who's who, what's what you think's going to happen, what you think should happen. Just let us know. Whatever it is, we're happy to be sociable about it. But yeah, I think Brighton will go down, bro. I mean, I picked Brighton last season and they just about edged it, and with a manager that is trying to he's trying to implement his style in the Premier League, and I think it would be easier to do that for a season in the Premier League. In the Championship rather than it would in the Premier League. Does that make sense?
No, I agree. I understand
Does that make sense?
And history also tells us as well that clubs that tend to hover above the relegation zone for a year or two, they don't tend to get better. They tend to get worse before they get better. You look at teams like Villa threatened to go down for a while, and then they did. So did Sunderland. So did Newcastle. Southampton have been above it a couple of times. So you got the team in sort of 15th, 16th, 17th, or just escaping relegation. Swansea did it as well. Usually in a couple of seasons that follow, they do end up going down. So it wouldn't be a huge surprise to see Brighton go down.
Mad.
I just wanted to, on the other fixture I think that we haven't yet covered, which is
That's
the
Wolves
Wolves
and
Burnley.
I was about to say, yeah.
I said him. I'm sure I mentioned him last week and the week before, and I mentioned him again. Ashley Barnes.
Yeah, bro, like very much like Pukki doing his thing.
And like
very
a Glenn
much.
Mazzolino.
Yeah.
He's just a reliable goal scorer for them.
He's integral to what they need.
Yeah. And
100%.
you know, ability-wise, there's nothing standout.
Just does his job well, though.
He's a hard worker.
It's like Burnley are like a jigsaw that's been pieced together, and he's that final piece of the jigsaw where everything fits.
Yeah.
And as long as everybody stays fit, they can make it work, because they know what you know what Sean Dyche is going to do. It's going to be long ball, it's going to be route one, it's going to be direct, and you want to make it effective.
He's a handful, Ashley Barnes.
He's not a bad player.
A stat that backs him up is that only Aguero and Mane have scored more Premier League goals than Ashley Barnes in 2019.
Now that's a stat.
So Aguero's got 16 this calendar year, Mane's got 15, and Ashley Barnes has got 13. So he's got more goals than Salah, more goals than Kane, more goals than Sterling, more goals than Aubameyang.
Than the entire Man United squad put together.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Look, men...
That's a great stat, that is.
Men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
They don't, stats do not.
Don't.
Shout out to Ashley Barnes. That's actually... I've brought him up a couple of times, and I've said how impressive that he is. But
I didn't know that. When you were going to bring his name up, I thought, it might be a couple of goals. That's a fucking brilliant return. For someone who probably cost, I don't know, his transfer fee is probably very little though, right?
Oh, yeah, I haven't got it top of my head, but very little, and he come from non-league football as well. Or especially the lower leagues as well.
Shout out to him.
So that's a brilliant stat. To the amount of people he's scored more goals than this calendar year.
Yeah.
Top quality world class players as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, big shout out.
Wolves juggling Europa League as they did in midweek. Who were they playing midweek? I had it here. They were playing Torino. There we go. Yeah, sorry. So they were playing Torino. Tough. So it is a tough game. It's a tough balancing act being in the Europa League and
I think
having to juggle it.
Their squad is better prepared to do it than say what Burnley's was the season before last when they had to do it. So
I'd agree.
I can't remember who it was. Someone said on TalkSport that they actually thought Wolves could potentially go all the way in Europa League, and I was like, that's a very big shout.
That's a bold statement.
And that made me think about it. I'm like, could they though? Could they really?
There's no reason they couldn't with a bit of luck.
Because they do exceptionally well against good sides.
That they do.
When they can counter, because Jota and Jimenez on the break.
Very good players.
Solskjaer highlighted it last week. They're deceptively quick. They break deceptively quickly on the counter.
Adama Traore as well is just like, I mean, he's like the chunkiest fucking...
Should be a rugby player.
He's the chunkiest sprinter I've ever seen in my life. Like the guy is when he from a standing start. He's like a sports car. He's just gone. It's ridiculous. Doesn't even make sense.
But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because if they do get further into the competition, then I would be quite intrigued to see what they could do. But it would all come down to their depth at what cost. Yeah,
well, Jimenez scored a late goal, so late that it was almost Sunday when he scored it. It was literally the 97th minute, and it was just heartbreak for the Burnley fans. But it is what it is. Look, there's more, should we say, controversy regarding...
almost Sunday. I'm sure it was played on Sunday.
Was it Sunday?
So it
was almost Monday. I don't know, man. Everything morphed into one over the weekend.
Yeah, that's true. That happens a lot.
It did, yeah. And I watched so much football that it could have been any day, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, son. I was just... there was sunlight outside that I didn't even see. I'm the palest guy in the world. Like, do you mean? Just sat indoors and watched football. Well. Yeah, and I'm 3% black as well, which is mad considering I don't tan well either. But
and like we said, the stats don't lie.
They don't lie. They really don't. But yeah, shout out to Ashley Barnes. So that's a wicked stat. A wicked. And we'll end it with that. So, is there anything else you want to bring up?
That's me.
No, that's cool. No podcast next week. I am away. I'm back in the motherland. I'll be back the week after though with Becky, and again we'll have this terrific lighting behind us, as you can see, and we will just be in just high definition for you again. 4K high D. But with that being said, add us up on the social media platforms. Back the week after next, and we'll see you then. Take care, people. Ciao.